Where is Nigel Farage talking about this? And actually, he enters the chat today talking about what's going on in England. And we're going to start in England. Starmer threatens his people and backs all of the migrants at this point in time and is basically saying, you Brits, if you don't calm down, you're all going to jail for being far right. So it's a wild ride what's going on in England. And if I fear, remember during COVID where Australia had one strategy to get the lockdowns in place and England had another and Canada had a weird hybrid? I fear we're watching one strategy roll out, and they're going to try different things here. We're in the midst of a different strategy playing out here, and even in Australia in the midst of a different strategy playing out there. We've seen our laws perverted and used against our citizens in Canada during the convoy and after as well. And so we're seeing now in England the stick method being rolled out. And that's what's going on here. This is 2 minutes. It's well worthwhile. It kind of gives an overview of what's going on. This is Harrison Smith stuff. And he says, Keir Starmer gave the British people an ultimatum. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. Starting in England, Keir Starmer gave the British people an ultimatum in his speech following the Southport riots. I don't even think that you can call them that, but okay. The people are rising to the challenge. So here is this overview here.
3 children get murdered after a years-long conflict between the British people and its government, as the British people desperately express through voting and protests and all sorts of other things that they don't want their country swamped by violent foreigners, only to have their protests shut down, their speech criminalized, their activists jailed, and their daughters stabbed. They actually decide to riot for once. The Prime Minister gives a speech about it, a speech in which he lays out a frightening new array of governmental powers to crack down on the native British.
We will establish a national capability across police forces, shared intelligence, wider deployment of facial recognition technology, and preventative action, criminal behaviour orders to restrict their movements before they can even board a train.
Either allow the migration crisis to kill your children and swamp your services and overthrow your government quietly, obediently, die, or if you stand up against us, well, now we have the excuse that we need for massive surveillance and, as he puts it, preventative action. The fact is, the British people are now being put to a test. They are rolling out the modern Western control grid in a way that's never been done before. If this control system is implemented and successful, they might as well be China. This is the Chinese control system. And then that's it. The people of the UK, they can be systematically and deliberately replaced. And any attempt to even politically reverse it will be criminalized and shut down. At least in China, their control system at least stops criminals. UK control system is there solely to stop the good people from stopping the criminals. It's all lies. Just send them back. The only possible solution to this is to send them all back.
So that's very popular. There was some discussion of that in Canada, like in the response to the show yesterday, saying, that's not really a realistic solution. I shared a plan, a 6-point plan talking about using diplomacy with other countries and incentives, including, we're going to cut off your foreign aid, although I think the foreign aid should be cut off anyway. We're going to cut off your foreign aid unless you take back these people, and so on and so forth, and using incentives in that way. I think that might work, but to a degree, if people go to war, that'll spark a civil war similar to what's happening in the UK right now. So you need to do it in a way that is chess, not boxing, I guess, for lack of a better comparison. Right? You need to do it in a way that incentivizes people to self-deport, right? And I remember hearing that term in the 90s and thinking that's the silliest thing I've ever heard. But yeah, and it's done with incentives, and you can do it. And I think it's part of the plan, but also part of the plan should be removing the traitors in government. Also part of the plan should be accountability for the damage that's been caused by these bad policies, right? A lot of this stuff, I'm not holding my breath. I'm not thinking it's going to happen, because these people who have power, if they did any of the things that I'm talking about, they themselves would be put in jail. So they have a vested interest in not seeing it the way I do, right? And the way other people, I think, see it as well. And even in the United Kingdom, right? How many days ago was it? 10, 12 that people were excited about Keir Starmer, and now not so much. People are rioting in the streets, right? Like that's not great after just winning an election, right? People aren't usually that quick to turn, right? But they realize these policies are exactly the same and we're stuck with this guy now. Time to riot? James, and he's got a UK flag in his profile, says, let me get this straight. Our country, England, is in chaos with riots erupting across the nation, further fueled by Keir Starmer's absurd statement. And we'll get to the statement in a minute. Instead of recalling Parliament and devising a plan to address the unrest and the public's concerns, Keir Starmer has chosen to go on holiday. Yes, you've heard that right. While our country is in turmoil, our Prime Minister prioritizes his suntan. Think about that. It's alarming how out of his depth this man is. So people are pointing out that, and this woman says, remember the fuss Labour made about Dominic Raab, not the PM at the time, when he stayed on holiday for 2 days when the Afghan crisis started. He was available by technology. Starmer is actually going on holiday during a crisis here. Typical Labour, one rule for us and one rule for them. Yeah, they lose their mind. And same thing, it's the Liberals in Canada or Labour in the UK. Here, this is... funny's not exactly the right word, but there's some irony here. And Nick says, the fake news reporter in England is saying white people are rioting just as Muslim men walk by carrying machetes. Screw these people. Ah, yes, the white people rioting. Pay no attention to the marauding Muslim gang carrying machetes behind me. Here we go.
And look very pleased about it whilst they did it. Then there was this, as I say, clash between protesters and the police, and that is when they then ran off across the park here. A big group ran off looking for trouble, it looked like to us. So we're just going to step away now from this group behind us, but a lot of disorder.
We're going to put some space between us and this group carrying machetes and a club thing that looks like it would hurt a lot more than a club would if it hit you. So, irony, pretty funny. I guess China's worried about this. This is Zhao Daoshui. I'm getting that terribly wrong. But it's a Twitter account that says they're the People's Armed Police Propaganda Bureau. So take it with a grain of salt. This could very well just be a regular troll person, whatever. But I found this interesting, and I was just looking to collect up some footage from what's going on in England. But again, it's the internet. Take it with a grain of salt. It's propaganda. It's all propaganda, right? All communication is propaganda in this post-national communication war that we're in the middle of. Anyway, they say, China is extremely concerned with the civil unrest in the United Kingdom and attacks on ethnic minorities. We urge the United Kingdom government to do everything in their capacity to ensure the safety of minorities. China reserves the right to intervene if the situation in the UK does not improve. Well, that's interesting, right? Like that's right out of the USA playbook, right? If you guys don't start behaving, we're gonna invade and make sure everybody plays nice. And like by play nice, we mean take your oil. Like, hey, hold on, what? Here's what's going on in the UK. So that's a fist fight between what looks to be a dark-skinned guy and a lighter-skinned guy, and then everybody got involved. So very interesting. Andy No says, Hull, East Yorkshire, England, August 3rd. Youths looted a Lush cosmetics store amid the riot over mass migration. The looting of businesses during acts of political violence mirrors the BLM looting in the US in 2020, in which people were stealing HD TVs and other non-essential items from Targets and Walmarts. So here's part of that. Seems to be a strong mix of, like, there seems at the beginning of this video to be a lot of very natural born Brits, white people walking in and out of this store. And that's odd, right? Don't you think? And then a little later, a couple of people darker skinned. This guy's got his face covered here, right? This guy's walking in and he's kind of concerned about it. So, but like weird, right? What a strange social contagion. Suddenly it's okay to steal things. It's okay to engage in shoplifting. I'm not sure why that would be okay. It's a signal of the breakdown of society. Ashley says it's kicking off in Bolton already. Here's that. They've got their horses out, right? So can't do that. And they've got barricades up. Here is Tim. He says, what is going on in the United Kingdom? Radio Genoa says, Allah's soldiers attack white British soon in your city. So here is a bunch of people. Now, these groups were walking around looking for British people who were protesting mass migration to attack. So, yeah, pretty violent. And goodness, watching that again, I'm not sure, like I'm not sure which group is which. Like, these guys don't have masks on. The guys they're hitting do have masks on, but this guy's got a mask on. So I don't know. There's all sorts of violence going on in the UK, and it's difficult to sort out who's doing what exactly. Here is Concerned Canadian. He says, a civil war has erupted in the United Kingdom between the Patriots and the invaders. Your thoughts? So more footage. This is more from a live stream, but there's lots of people out on the streets pushing back against this. Here is another one from Concerned Citizen. He says, why are you protesting? The people protesting the stabbing of little girls, are you mentally unwell? So it's a minute 12. I think it's worth listening to the whole thing. Here we go.
Are you protesting against the people protesting the stabbing of little girls? Are you mentally unwell? Why do you wish to bring back communism and socialism when it killed 100 million people in the 20th century? I'm sorry to announce, England will be forever. English people will live forever. Your international globalist bullcrap will not stand. Sorry to announce, nationalities still exist. People are still patriotic. People still want to walk down the streets without their daughters getting raped. People still want to be able to get in a disagreement without getting stabbed. People want to be able to get a spot at the GP or at their local school, but for some reason you guys want to turn it all into a dirty, nasty version of the Soviet Union. You are the real racists. You are the real idiots. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. The only reason... Thank you. The only reason you are lefties is because you hate yourself and your spirit is ugly. I am standing with the English people because they've got a backbone. They want their country back. They want to walk through city centres without...
There you go. So we'll leave him there. Well, the clip ends there also, so convenient, right? And pretty wild stuff. Here is a group of men telling the British police, we don't need you, we've got ourselves. In Bolton, Manchester, a Muslim patrol tells members tell police they don't need the state and can be vigilantes against their targets.
We're not sheep. We're not fucking getting caught. We've seen it in other towns as well. I've seen this. We're going to be doing passive mosques anyway. We'll be doing that all day.
We don't need you. We've got ourselves, mate.
That's cold.
You know what I mean? You don't stop this shit. We don't need to stop, mate. We need to write them off.
It doesn't matter where this come from. Yeah, we come from everywhere.
Yeah, give it a month.
Yeah, we come from everywhere. Yeah, we come from everywhere. Yeah, that's right. We don't have to ask where we come.
Yeah, but listen, look, we've got our own thing. We can do what we want to do. At the end of the day, when you don't leave, nobody's not going to be pissed off coming around to grab us someone, yeah? We're not letting that happen.
So they're saying we can do what we want to do. And when you guys aren't here, we'll do what we want to do, basically. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's a U.S. politician, but this is a parody account. And she says, happening now. And again, I was just trying to collect up the footage from what was going on. Happening now, thousands of Muslims are chanting Allah Akbar while searching for white British patriots. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Is that accurate? It seems to be accurate when you look at the videos. Pretty intimidating, right? Here is a mob of Asian men targets a lone protester in Middlesbrough. Channel 4 News. This is reported on Channel 4 News. Now, there's a guy who jumps up on the windowsill here and has his fist ready and lands, and he like punches the guy in the head. There it is. Punch. See? I'll do that again. I don't think I did. Unbelievable violence, right? So that's going on. So that's what I mean when I say, is that real? This is why I think it's real. Here's a video of showing exactly that. Who knows? Here's Concerned Citizen again. He says, listen to BBC abruptly and deliberately end this conversation with former Met Superintendent, and the moment he starts telling the truth about the UK riots, which opposes the BBC government state-sponsored narrative. Here we go.
And my family members are in the front line dealing with this. They're taking the brickbats. What I'm saying is, you have to be very careful now with tempers the way they are and people's sense of angst of what had gone on in the preceding couple of days, where you'd had an army officer stabbed in the back, the misleading representation in the northwest where this occurred.
That's a different case there, Kevin, so we'll leave it there. That's Kevin Hurley.
No, they're not. You're missing the point. All of you are missing the point. People conflate this and they make two and they make five.
We're worsening that conflation by mentioning the two cases together here, so we'll leave it there. Thank you, Kevin Hurley.
Cut off, right? We're not going to talk to you anymore because you're making too much sense. It's why my show doesn't get any views, right? I know I have a lot more views than I get credit for on the platforms, right? So it's very, very interesting, but they want to shut people down who are speaking like that or who are injecting ideas like, you do your own research. Don't believe me. Please don't believe me. Go check out the links in the description. Do your own research and come to your own conclusions. But it seems very, very interesting when they cut people off like that, right? So, and they don't want people thinking about things in a way that they have not predetermined, right? And so the media in the United Kingdom and in Canada as well, have a way of discussing topics, and that's already been approved. And if you discuss topics outside of that approved sphere, then you're excluded. Here's Keir Starmer talking about how he's going to crack down on the British people. This is absolutely a speech out of V for Vendetta. Here we go.
Be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. The police will be making arrests, individuals will be held on remand, charges will follow, and convictions will follow. I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online and then running away themselves. This is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery, and it has no place on our streets or online. Be in no doubt.
So I think it's interesting. This reminds me of the, what's it called? The Freedom Protest and the Freedom Convoy. When the Freedom Convoy happened, they said, we're peaceful. We want to be peaceful. We want these things. These are the reasons why we're doing this. The vaccine mandate, all sorts of different reasons why we're doing this. And then the people in government said, that's not the reason they're doing this. The reason they're doing this is because they're extremists. They're criminals. They're this, they're that. We know why they're doing this. The reason they're doing this is X. And Starmer's doing exactly the same thing. This isn't protest. No. This isn't protest at all. This is violent thuggery, right? What does he know? He has either he has no idea, or he's reading from a script. He's pushing his ideology, right? Violent thuggery. It's the same script as was rolled out in Canada. Bohemian Atmosphere says Starmer looks like he's reading from a script. There's a reason for that. They all are. I remember when the Build Back Better script landed, it was parroted in lockstep throughout the Western world. Things weren't built back better. They were destroyed deliberately. Yep, that's what happened. And that was code for let's destroy it. This is the UK. This is terrifying. Again, Concerned Citizen. So go check out his Twitter profile. Here are all these swords circled in this image, right? These people are violently enraged. And somebody says, who is this guy? Knives and swords. Are they far right, or is that the religion of peace? Vice Guard says a large group of migrant men is trying to break through police lines in Bolton to confront anti-mass immigration protesters in the city who are peaceful. So that's pretty crazy stuff, right? And then we've got Tommy Robinson says mobs of masked Muslims running through the streets of Stoke, searching for people to attack. They run straight past police with weapons in hand. Police turn a blind eye. Pretty, like, there was a car driving down the street and these guys are running across the street, could have been hit, and nobody, it seems, worried. The police just stand there and ignore them. Got bigger things to deal with today, sir. The ferryman's toll says they're going to release thousands of foreign criminals to make room to imprison thousands of British people protesting the importation of endless foreign criminals. It's a war. Starmer admits thousands of prisoners will be released to tackle overcrowding. That's reported in the Telegraph yesterday. And so that's interesting, right? Insurrection Barbie says, this is London. You're one election away from seeing this, and at every major American city. Just know that a vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for this. So it's a police state with police, militarized police vehicles and police in riot gear. And if this is London, I mean, holy cow, right? If somebody from 1980 came and saw this, they would be very disheartened.
If you do not stop, impact rights will be hurt.
The music was added post, right? It wasn't, the police weren't playing that on the speakers, but still, right? The feeling is there. Hodge Twins says, this is what's happening in the United Kingdom right now. Government opens the borders and lets in illegal aliens. Illegals start committing violent crime, murders, rape, etc. in British communities. Further than that, just to add a quick little, my own edit, there were rape gangs, Pakistani rape gangs targeting British children, and it was ignored because people didn't want to be seen as racist by protecting the British girls. It's absolutely mind-boggling, and it's ongoing to this day. The government does nothing to stop the criminal illegals. British citizens take matters into their own hands and attack the illegals because the government won't do anything. The government declares British citizens that attack illegals are domestic terrorists and starts raiding their homes and arresting them for protecting their communities. Sound familiar? Coming soon to the United Kingdom. And yesterday I showed you the police busting in a door for somebody who was protesting at the anti-mass immigration protests. So that's pretty interesting. Lawrence says the lying, dying legacy media are at it again. Ex-Labour MP interviews his own wife on national television. Government and media collusion is a serious problem in this country. Ofcom will no doubt have absolutely nothing to say about it. I'm not going to play the interview, but it's interesting to me anyway, because people in positions of power have wives who either own interesting things, right, or have interesting positions of power themselves, and that interplay is interesting. How many politicians are married to people in media or radio or anything to that effect? It's a lot, right? Bonnie Crombie, Danielle Smith. Danielle Smith was herself in radio. There are all sorts of interesting things. So I don't know. I'm not going to play it, but the connections, when you look, jaw-dropping. Lee Anderson is a UK MP. We're almost done the UK stuff. I know it's 25 minutes, but I feel like it matters. He says Parliament must be recalled immediately. Nigel Farage is weighing in. He says, I've been appalled by the levels of violence seen in the last couple of days. The levels of intimidation and threat to life have no place in a functioning democracy. That so many police officers have been injured trying to keep the peace is shocking, and we should not discount the use of the army if the situation were to deteriorate further. Oh, that's red flag one. In the short term, we will quell the riots, but deeper long-term problems remain. Ever since the soft policing of the Black Lives Matter protests, the impression of a two-tiered policing has become widespread. The Prime Minister's faltering attempts to address the current crisis have only added to that sense of injustice. The majority of our population can see the fracturing of our communities as a result of mass uncontrolled immigration, whether legal or illegal. Yet to attempt to debate this in the public arena leads to immediate howls of condemnation. A population explosion without integration was always going to end badly. I've said this for many years. We must have a more honest debate about these vital issues and give people the confidence that there are political solutions that are relevant to them. A recall of Parliament would be an appropriate start. So some leadership, I guess. Sure. Here's Rob, and he's sharing this commentary saying, you know, the British people have a legitimate grievance here. We should probably listen to them.
Stop this is start to actually ask the question, why? Why are these riots happening? We should obviously condemn them. We should condemn people attacking police officers, setting things on fire. But we need to ask the question is, what has happened to this country that a large group of people feel silenced? They cannot speak. They cannot speak about the problems of mass immigration. And when you do, you're labelled, even people on the right or left, you know, you're common sense people who want to have these discussions, you're labelled as a far-right person. Now we're actually seeing the real far-right in this country rising. And the reason for that is they've been silenced for a long time. We ignore the fact that 80% of this country is actually white. We are constantly not prepared to ask deeper level questions. When BLM riots happened in 2020, the media coverage, the social media coverage was all asking the question, why? Why do black people feel the way they feel in this country, in America? But no one seems to be prepared to ask these questions towards these group of people. Instead, they want to put them all in a box of crazy white EDL far-right people, rather than actually sitting there saying, what has happened to this country? Will Sir Keir Starmer actually wake up and actually do something to this, or will we turn into France, where this is just going to keep on happening on a regular basis? So I think to stop these riots, we need to have a much more serious conversation about how to stop crime in this country, how to stop certain ethnic groups getting an advantage in terms of not being prosecuted by the police. We saw it in Rotherham with those young girls who were getting exploited. We need to have some serious questions about this. Until then, I don't think the riots will stop anytime soon. The way to stop.
Yeah, and he's saying, will this just become France? Is this kind of the future? And I think, yeah, like that's the model. That's what they want to introduce and normalize. They want you to not blink an eye when tent cities take over a city like Paris. It used to be a city of light, a city of beauty. People would go there for their anniversary, like ooh la la, the whole thing. Like France was a destination place in the 90s and even into the early 2000s, really. I mean, people go now, but it's not what it was. But they're going to try and normalize taking a beautiful place like that and destroying it with tent cities and migrants, and have you just shrug and move on and carry on and surrender. Somebody said, where can we go where we could just start our own country and protect ourselves against this crap? And I thought to myself, well, this is our country. Like, this is our damn country. We should be able to protect ourselves against this crap in this damn country. Billy says, Keir Starmer's words and actions towards UK citizens earlier today are exactly how Kamala's words will sound when the same starts happening in the United States. She does not have America's best interests in mind. What we are seeing in the United Kingdom will come here too. It always has. Interesting and concerning. And not to say I completely agree, but we're watching it happen in real time, right? We're watching it it's not exactly the same, but you can tell that it rhymes. You can tell the same people are QBing it, are pulling the strings behind the scenes. Brian Lilly says, hello everyone, thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful